The content in this magazine could contain references of topics and difficult subject matter that may be triggering. Please honor yourself, inner knowing, and proceed with whatever help or guidance you feel is intuitively aligned. Welcome to Sovereign Magazine Podcast. I'm Nicole George, CEO and founder of Sovereign. I'm so happy you are here. We are the magazine, podcast, and community guiding 5 million women to their sovereign selves. From heart-led conversations to magical meditations, our inspiring guests will show you how they can help you step into your sovereign self. Are you ready to listen to your inner voice and step into your power? Then keep listening to hear all of the intuitive messages meant for you today. Hello, today I have the privilege of connecting with Muslimah Tobias, one of our amazing contributors. She is known as the Spiritual Awakening Catalyst and is certified in holistic wellness and spiritual embodiment. She has over 20 years of studying holistic nutrition, advocacy, and healing, and through her signature pathway, Reconnect, Rewire, Radiate, she guides women, especially high-masking neurodivergent souls, and deep feelers back to their divine essence. As the founder of Soulprint Collective, a global sanctuary for truth and wholeness, her mission is to shatter illusions and ignite awakening. She is not here to just teach. She is here to inspire through art, dance, nature, and movement, with her 6 children right by her side helping her. Her core belief is you are never broken. You were just buried under brilliance. Welcome, Muslimah.
Thank you for having me, Nicole. I'm so grateful to be here today.
I am so excited that you're here today because you are really going to take us on a journey of trusting the universe, which is our March full moon issue. And in your article, Unmasking the Divine Self, a journey into truth, transformation, and trust, you really share your deep personal story of how you had to unravel, awaken, and ultimately reclaim your divine identity. So for those who haven't read your article yet, please share a little bit more about it or perhaps why you wrote it.
Yes, the main reason why I wrote this article for Unmasking because this was probably like one of the most pivotal moments in my life. So I was dealing with hidden abuse, and that was probably one of the most spiritual awakenings, the first spiritual awakenings that I was challenged with. And so that's why I wanted to write it, because in the media, we see a lot of physical abuse, like domestic violence is like scars. But this was my first time knowing about emotional abuse. I had a lot of cognitive dissonance, just even wrapping my head around psychological abuse, spiritual abuse, scars of the mind, basically. So I thought it was paramount for people to know that this type of abuse is also valid, sometimes even worse because it's something that you can't touch. It's not tangible. Because there was a moment, even in my journey, that I was like, oh, I wish I was physically abused, because there was something tangible that I had that I know. I was like, oh, this is tangible evidence. But usually emotional abuse, spiritual abuse, like I said, is like a lot of psychological manipulation. So it distorts your reality and it breaks down your mindset. So it took me about 2 years just to even rebuild my mindset. So I thought it was like one of the most things that I wanted to focus on.
So when was that pivotal moment? I mean, I love the fact that you identified between tangible and kind of invisible scars, if you will, because I've never thought about it as physical abuse. You could see the bruises, you could see other types of hurt to the body, but with the mental, you may not be able to see it. You just are aware of it. And so what I'm wondering is, when was that pivotal moment that you recognized that you had these scars that were forming inside your mental health?
Yes, before I even knew, I thought it was, like in my marriage, I thought maybe something's going on with me. So I was focusing on personal development, but I feel like the marriage was getting worse as I was growing better. And I was like, this is not making sense. And the pivotal moment is when I feel like I hit rock bottom, because I was like it just not making sense here. Like I'm getting better as a person. So why is my marriage getting worse? Like it's not clicking. And then that's actually when I reconnected with my faith. I basically prayed, like, God, show me what's going on here. And I kid you not, that same day I made that prayer, I came across work of overt narcissism. And we hear about narcissism, the grandiose version, but the covert version is the more hidden, the subtle version. And I was just reading, like, oh, I can relate to this, but I was still in a state of denial. And I was probably in depression for 2 months because I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But at the same, because it was like my body was recognizing that this is true, but my brain could not at the same time. And yeah, but within after those 2 months of like depression, then I kind of go the stages of grief. So it's kind of like denial, acceptance. Once I was able to accept it, that's when the pivotal moment changed. Okay, I know this information now. What am I going to do with it?
Yeah. So when you look back at the beginning of your unraveling, what was the first moment that you realized that you were not only just kind of breaking down, but really breaking open?
Yeah, when did I find that? I don't think I noticed that until the end of my healing journey, like the first 2, 3 years, because the first 2 years I was intellectualizing. I was just in my head overthinking. I really could have kind of do a psychology degree and as deep as I went into the mind and the psychology of it. And it wasn't probably into 3, 4, when I started to recognize, okay, I'm in my head. It's time to go in my body, to send into my body. When I started to embody that, I recognized the pain wasn't just punishment, but it was more of like purpose. I'm not breaking, I'm breaking open, as you said, right? This is a breakthrough in there. There's some lessons in there, some wisdom in there. And yeah, that's once I started to move from intellectualizing to embodying is when I had that tip moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you realize that perhaps you were masking and needed to unmask a little bit in order to look at that painful truth that you were realizing?
Oh, in my healing journey, I was naturally unmasking, like unraveling without even knowing it. I didn't until I had the language about like neurodivergence and unmasking. I was like, oh wow, in my healing journey, I was already naturally doing that. But now I was able to have the label, like, oh, this is what it is. And once I learned about neurodivergence, that kind of opened my world to like another world. I was like, oh, this is another layer. Because now there's a distinction between those who maybe are neurotypical, the way they heal, and the way those who are neurodivergent. Like, for example, me, one in my healing, have a lot of rumination, trying to just wrap my head around a whole lot of things, a lot of overthinking. And even the way I feel things is a little bit more deeper. It's much deeper in the emotional sensitivity. So recognizing that there's even a difference in how I'm healing and knowing that sometimes the way the Western psychology is set up may not be catered to that. And knowing that sitting with it, they say there's this thing, sit with it to feel it. That may not work with me. I need to surf with it. I need to flow with the waves. I can't just sit with it because it might actually even just start to compound until you feel like you're about to explode, because that's kind of how it felt. And I think that's why for a lot of people who in that journey facing those shadows and the darkness feel like I'm just going to explode. So I don't want to deal with it. But yeah, learning to just surf with those waves and those feelings, to flow with it, makes it more bearable and graceful.
I that not sitting with it and surfing with it. That is so beautiful. I'm also neurodivergent as well. And that is a really beautiful way to explain what I go through in my head, because I ruminate a lot as well. And I have a lot of waves. And so I'm going to think about you all the time now, and myself surfing. But I did want to touch on a subject that is really near and dear to your heart. Actually, two subjects that have come together through this journey. And that is your neurodivergence, and also you identify as queer. And so those two things have come out through your journey, and you are really open and free about talking about the two of them. So I would love for you to share how you came to trust in this ability to completely identify and share with the world exactly who you are.
One thing we know about neurodivergence is we are like very direct with language. So for me, just even the word queer by itself meant like eccentric, odd, just even if we weren't talking about sexuality, it was like I was naturally queer just by the archaic definition alone. But and then also when it comes to sexuality, the fluidity of it, I started to link to it with neurodivergence because it was like, okay, we have different brain types, the neurotypes. Now we have different sex types too. And one of the proof was for me, it was like we don't just have male and female, but we also have intersex. And I think people forget that middle ground, that it shows the fluidity in the biology alone, or just even in the animal kingdom in nature. And I was like, why not also in the spectrum of our humanity? And so for me, it just felt natural, like inclination towards just being open. Just as I'm unraveling who I am and becoming more authentic in who I am, it felt more free to do it just as a liberated person. It just, okay, it doesn't matter what other people think because I was created like this. I'm by divine design. Like we all have our own fingerprint. I'm not a mistake. So obviously, there's some type of infinite intelligence, even if we don't know what it is. And yeah, I feel like I prayed on it and I just actually felt called to actually speak on it. Yeah, I felt called to speak on it because I was like, I think we're missing the key point. We're just humans. It's just different. It's a diversity of the humanity, the spectrum of our humanity. That's it. We have different brain types. We have different sex types. We get to learn from each other and our differences.
Yeah, you really talk about this in your article that your becoming became not only a mirror, but the medicine and the movement for you to really step into your sovereign self, if you will. And so when you started to identify as your true, authentic self, what do you think was the hardest step to take?
The hardest step for me was just visibility, looking for external validation that it was safe for me to be seen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually lost a friend, a dear friend to that because it was like I felt myself. There's a moment when you're shifting like timelines as you're growing. And unfortunately, I had to let her go because she was like pulling me back. She wasn't like allowing me to grow. It was kind of like, who do you think you are? Like, you need to pull back a little bit more that you're like on this pedestal. And I was just like, "Ay, look at me like I'm on this pedestal." But that's what I felt like was the hardest part was to know that sometimes I have to let people go, that I may have to walk that journey alone because I know what's true for me. It was my heart. And if people can recognize that, then that's not their journey to, I mean, they just don't understand that journey. And then maybe it's not for them to come along with me through that next timeline.
Yeah, and that's where that phrase, you might have a friend for a reason or a season, right? That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
And I know I was listening to the Mel Robbins podcast the other day, and she had an expert on there. And please forgive me for not remembering your name, but she was talking about how this expert was talking about how every 7 years you actually turn over your friend group for the most
Mhm.
part because we outgrow each other. We change and our values change and shift. So let's just take like marriage. If you have a bunch of single friends and then you get married, that's a new phase, right? And then what if you have
Mhm.
children? Then that's a new phase, right? So every about 7 years, you're gaining and losing friends. And so when I heard that perspective, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I can see that in my life. But what I want to tie it back to is when you were dealing with this friend who was saying that you were putting yourself up on this pedestal and so on and so forth, why do you think women so often mask and are afraid to be as visible as you started to become? She obviously felt that you were a quote unquote threat in some way to her because that was her reaction. Because I would feel that anyone, just like me, when I heard your story, I was like, this is amazing. We should share it with the world, right? That would be somebody's natural reaction to be supportive. So I would think in some way she was projecting onto you her own
Yes.
fears, right? So why do you think women mask for themselves and also don't lean into the fears beneath those masks?
Yes. I feel like it has to do with a lot of the good girl syndrome in the patriarch system. A woman not just being able to be her authentic self, her having to be passive and just falling in line with things, not allowing her to just to be. It's like women are supposed to be like this docile, soft, like you can't be loud or you can't be bold. And I think then so there's a lot of insecurities built in from that. And yes, I feel like that's where a lot of fears lie. And then also comfort when you're your body, your nervous system wants to keep you safe, and you're so used to being in a comfort zone. So you see someone else growing. It's like, why do I have to expand it with you? Come back to my level. And yeah, I feel like that plays a part.
Yeah. You talk a lot in your article about that we were never really broken, that we're actually just buried beneath our brilliance and we're waiting to emerge. And so I'd love for you to expand a little bit on that because that is such an incredible way to look at ourselves, our healing, our trauma, all of that.
Yes. Ooh, I think this came with me because actually my children's dad once said before, like towards the end of our marriage, he had made a statement like, you are broken. Like you were broken when I met you. And I confronted him about that. And he was like, oh, it was just in a state of anger. But I was reflecting on that and how even people themselves feel like, oh, I'm just damaged good. I'm broken. And I was like, oh, we're not really broken. But there's just layers of fragments. And there's a difference, I think, between being fragmented and broken. And I think what we are is really just fragmented pieces of ourselves, disconnected from ourselves, and being able to reconnect those parts, all of the layers of conditionings, old beliefs that are not ours, the system. Yeah, like the hierarchies, the different system that we have falling in line with. And we just kind of just unraveling all of that. So yeah, it's about rewiring just on mindset and how we see things because perspective makes a big difference. You see yourself as broken, you you're less likely to want to do like the healing work. You're like, there's no point. I'm already broken. Who's gonna want me? But you think having another perspective that, well, something's possible for me, that I am actually still here. Just I have all of these layers that I had to go through. I feel like this makes it more promising for someone to look forward to.
It is time to rise. We are being called to stand behind independent voices, movements, and media that refuse to be owned. Sovereign Magazine has never spoken to an advertiser, a corporation, or a billionaire. We are a grassroots movement made for and funded by you. If you are ready to rise, to shatter ceilings, and to stand in your truth, do it with us. It's free. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share. Every click helps us reach more people around the globe, ready to remember who they are. Are you coming with us? You talked about rewiring your mindset. So I'm going to move us into our special segment, Steps to Your Sovereign Self. And you're going to be doing an amazing thing with us to help us really kind of have some calmness for our nervous system. So you're going to do an emotional freedom technique or EFT that will help us update our belief systems and really take us from this survival mode that we have been in to a more comforting, calm place. So I'm going to hand it over to you and let's see where we go.
Yes, first I want to start with breathing just to get our bodies to center and to ground ourselves in the present. So allow your bodies to settle wherever you are. And if you are comfortable, I invite you to close your eyes or just soften your gaze. Place one hand on your heart, tuning into the heartbeat, and one hand on your lower belly. Take a slow inhale through your nose for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a deep exhale through your mouth. A long exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do that one more time. Inhale through your nose, receiving all the goodness that you deserve. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Long exhale through your mouth with a big sigh, releasing everything that isn't yours. And whenever you are ready, you have opened your eyes. This is reconnection, knowing that whenever you feel dysregulated, you can always come back to your breath as an anchor to center yourself back to your body. And let's go into the EFT that we were talking about, emotional freedom technique. You don't need to tap perfectly. You could just follow along with the words. We're going to first start with the karate chop, which is using the ends of your hands. That's by the pinky that lines up with your pinky, and just kind of like karate chop it. Repeat, even though my body learned certain beliefs in order to survive, I deeply honor and appreciate that wisdom, and I now choose to gently rewire towards safety, truth, and divine trust. Now we're going to go into tapping to different parts of our body, which is like our eyebrow, side of our eyes, under our eyes, nose, chin, collarbone, underarms, and the top of the head. So first, let's just start with the eyebrows. I learned to mask part of myself to survive. Then on the tap on the side of your eye, my nervous system did its best. Under your eye, tap, I don't need to shame the past. Under your nose, you can tap, I can rewire safely. And on your chin, you can tap, my body is allowed to soften. In your collarbone, you can tap, nourishment supports my healing. And under your arm, you can say, I am safe to choose differently. I return to my true self. On the top of your head, tap, I trust my unfolding. I return to my true self. And we can go for another round for more of an empowerment. Start tapping the eyebrow again, and you can say, I release urgency. The side of your eye, I choose regulation before transformation. Under your eye, I now give myself permission to soften. Under your nose, to unmask safely. Then tap under your chin, and to trust that I'm divinely held and guided. Your collarbone, I am allowed to take up space in my truth. Under your arm, I am allowed to move at the speed of safety. And at the top of your head, I am sovereign in my becoming. Take a big, deep breath, release, and remind yourself, I am not broken. I am buried beneath brilliance. And sovereignty is your birthright.
I love this. Okay, let's share a little bit more about EFT and how often people should be doing this. Maybe is there a way that they can repeat the affirmations in different ways? Like, share a little bit more so that people who are new to EFT can understand the benefits of it.
Okay, yeah. So EFT, emotional freedom technique, is designed to like bridge the gap between the mind and the body. So some people do affirmations and they recognize, well, these affirmations are sticking. And because there's a gap between your body having different belief systems than with you already thinking. And so you're tapping on these meridian points that are located throughout your body, the tapping points, like the top of your head, and it runs through like the energy points. I don't know if you're like familiar with acupuncture and acupressure. So it's coming from that, but instead of using needles, you're just using your fingers, the energy through your hands, through your body. And you can use that anytime, like after like we did breathe in, and you want to center yourself first, and then you want to use it. Usually FT starts with being the negative beliefs that you have first. So you may say, I'm feeling worthless, or I'm feeling like scared, but I deeply honor and appreciate myself. So you're telling yourself you feel these negative beliefs, but you also are still accepting yourself. And then you'll do a second round that's more of empowerment, which is what new beliefs that you want to have. I am full of worth. I am deserving only because I exist. And then you use it like that. And you just do it as many times as you want throughout the day. And it's just a way to update your software, the old beliefs that you had, and update it with the new ones. Yeah, it's a pretty powerful thing I like to use.
I love this. We're updating our software together. This is so amazing. Okay, well, here's the beauty. Not only is Muslimah in our community.sovereign-magazine.com, but you can connect with her on all of her socials. Those will be in the show notes. She's absolutely magical. And here's the best part. Today, doing this EFT, we really did the Reconnect to Rewire as part of her Reconnect, Rewire, Radiate. We didn't get to the Radiate because we didn't have enough time. So this year in 2026, we have a show together, and we're going to be doing all of these three things together on our year-long show. So make sure that you are subscribed to our YouTube and Substack channels, where we're going to be connecting and going on a journey about all of these different things. So if you're enjoying her EFT and her beautiful perspective, definitely listen to our show over there as well. All right, my lovely, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another soul-led entrepreneur here to help you step into your sovereign self. Subscribe to our magazine and podcast and join our global community for all the magic. Details to connect with today's guest or join the movement are in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. It helps us reach our goal of guiding 5 million women to self-sovereignty.